So I am here with Gregory Scott, and I can't explain the excitement that I have in my heart right now. This gentleman, I met him a few weeks ago.
Right.
No, I met him many, many years ago. In fact, we came up together. So this is a unique interview for me because it's a heartfelt interview, and he and I know intimate stuff about each other that's beyond all belief. But I can't say enough about him. He's a wonderful father, a great businessman, a great pioneer in his field. I cannot say enough about this man, other than I am blessed to have him in my life, and as a friend, a mentor, uh, an advisor, and more. So, without any further ado, I want to introduce Mr. Gregory Scott.
Mr. Darren Smith, I definitely appreciate the opportunity to be on this interview forum with you. Um, you know, for those of you that don't know Darren Smith, he is an entrepreneur at heart, and he has been like that since he was a teenager. And just keeping it real, I've watched him go through the ebbs and flows of entrepreneurship. I've seen him in good times and I've seen him in bad times. Um, we go back all the way to the streets of Southeast Washington, D.C. And we just grew up at a time and in a community where family mattered, relationships mattered, and, the neighborhood mattered. And so we became best friends at a young age. It was Darren, myself, two other gentlemen that we just ran together. We ran hard, but we had the core values that were necessary, that were instilled in us by our parents. And so while we were able to do everything that we were big and bad enough that we thought that we were able to do, the foundation for our lives was set by our parents. And so we've continued to maintain that brotherly relationship. It didn't matter how much we might be disconnected by time or lack of contact. It only took one phone call for us to catch up. And so to see Darren and his lovely wife, Tina, continue in this vein of entrepreneurship that they are continuing to grind in and to continue to help so many people, I am honored to be asked to be on this forum.
Wow. All right. See, he tried to make it about me, y'all. It's not. So yeah, it's funny, but I'm gonna do something. Um, it's funny. Greg and I go so far back. I'm gonna just see if I can share this thing real quick.
Oh, okay. Pulling out the
No, here's the irony of that. Look at if you guys could see that. Look at him, and he looks the same. Even the suit is still fly.
I don't believe it.
So I had to do.
Okay, I see this is gonna be.
Was that an ambush move?
Oh, you got me.
But that was me and him. You know what I mean? But it's funny, and I'm gonna get to the interview. The way you see the way he's dressed now, and you see the way he's dressed then. He's a fly dude. He's always been fly. Always been at the top of his game on the dress code. When I was looking for pictures to do this interview, I couldn't figure out which one because all of them look so good. Like, oh, I like that suit. I like that suit. So, and I didn't have my people didn't have a chance to do a video like I normally do for my guests. But anyway, I found a good one I finally landed on. So that's funny.
Now,
So,
you gotta promise me that you send me all of the pictures because I need to have them in the archives. All right?
Yeah, you do, bro. You do. And yeah, I've got some really. I got some good ones of you too. You probably haven't seen in a long time.
All right.
I'm not gonna start that. All right. So let's talk about. Like, I like to immediately get into the background, and this is not for you to necessarily add me into it, but how did you grow up? When your father left you that $1 million check and you just walked into success? Is that how it worked, or did you kind of struggle a little bit? How did it work?
Darren, you and I both know that is not the way that the landscape of this story became, because we grew up middle class. Back then, it was lower middle class.
Yes. Yes.
And we grew up in a working class neighborhood with working class parents. You know, I'll never forget, your dad was an educator.
Mm-hmm.
He was also a painter.
Yep.
And so he did what he had to do to paint houses, to do whatever he had to do to support his family.
That's
and
right.
so I grew up seeing all of that. My dad was a master carpenter. He would redesign basements and all of that, and I would help him. Right? You're really taking me back now, because I'm really thinking about this journey.
That's right.
We saw them doing whatever they needed to do to support their family. And so, no, we didn't grow up with a silver spoon in our mouth. We grew up like many folks do, but we had to figure it out. We had to work it out. And the biggest examples that we had was our parents. And so my parents didn't go to college, but I did. And they were so thrilled that I wanted to go. They didn't care what the major was, right? As long as I went, right? It could have been basket weaving, and at graduation, you know, parents would be yelling, "That's my baby." And so, you know, we were fortunate because we didn't have a lot of the opportunities that other people had, but we had a lot of love, a lot of respect for one another, a lot of respect for our elders. And so that's how we grew up. And so fast forward, you know, with this journey, I was that kid that went to school, got a good education so that perhaps I could get that good, safe, and secure job. And so I've been in the area of law enforcement, Darren, for 31 years. That's a long time. I was a police officer in North Carolina. And currently, I've been with the federal government serving in federal law enforcement for the last 21 years. That's a long time. And so I've seen a lot in my professional career, but in my personal life, you know, something significant happened for me about a little bit over 12 years ago, when I knew that I had to do something different. I knew that I had to do something of significance to get my family to another level, because I knew that that 9 to 5 was not going to get me to that level that I desired. Because Darren, think back, we never, ever talked about being wealthy growing up.
No.
And the reason why, Darren, in my opinion, we didn't talk about it because we didn't know anybody from our hood that was wealthy.
That's right.
Comma, legally. Right?
Yeah.
Because we knew everybody and we knew who was doing what. And those were the people that we were told that we needed to stay away from. And so 12 years ago, I found a vehicle, you know, that did not take away from my 9 to 5, but it enhanced my household. And so I got involved in the travel industry as a business owner. And it has been a whirlwind of learning and growing and understanding economics and understanding the signs of the times. And so I've been in the travel industry for the last 12 years. With the current project that I'm in, I just can't describe the weight of where we are and where we're absolutely going, and where other people have the same opportunity to go themselves. And we can get into that in any way that you'd like.
Well, yeah, because you being the entrepreneur that you are, you already have jumped in to that. But I wanted to get into a little bit more details about the background, because what I find is, especially in somebody like your case, people see you now, the polished spokesman, statesman, you know, orator that you are, although you have been that pretty much all your life. But still, there was a journey. There was a journey deeper than that, because yeah, we did come through the mean streets of Southeast, and there were daily issues we had to face, in many different ways. And I like the people to kind of know the background. I mean, I think it's important because I deal with a lot of people from a lot of different walks of life, and they see and what they think is me now, and how there's a level of success. But they don't know that, like you said, my dad, every weekend I went to paint, or he told me if I wanted a Calvin Klein jacket, I had to go make my money my own. And I had to fight every day because I was light skinned. And I don't want to talk about me, but I want to talk about you, the struggles that you came up with and dealt with directly from coming from that area and upbringing.
Well, while we did come up in Southeast DC, we were on the backside of Southeast DC.
Tina says the Maryland side.
If you went to the end of my block and went on the other side of the street,
That's true.
Right?
That's true. Yeah, I never thought about that.
So, we were in the hood, but it was close to the suburbs. I'll put it like that.
Okay.
And so, coming up in DC, inner city in the 70s, there was a lot that was going on. There was a lot of choices that our parents made and sacrifices that they made, even though the environment around us may have been challenging, right? Because, Darren, our parents made the sacrifice to send us to private school, right?
That's true. That's true. All of us, yeah.
Because they wanted to make sure that what was going on in the elementary schools and in the middle schools and the high schools that were gut-wrenching, they didn't want that to be the story for their kids.
That's true.
And so the sacrifices that we saw were huge.
Let's talk about that.
Okay.
Because I think and especially in my case, and maybe you didn't feel it as much as I did, but because I went to a private school and I went to school with people that their parents owned car dealerships, major electric companies around the area. I mean, their parents had names literally on buildings and stuff where I went to school, and I'm still that little Southeast kid that really had to work hard to put their wardrobe together, and for my parents to even pay for that, especially, again, like you said, my father taught at DC public schools and my mom didn't work. Mm-hmm. So for him to do that with the two jobs, that's important. So how did that work out for you in private school when you were dealing with a lot of that's what our deal was. We're from Southeast and we're dealing with people who own places.
Well, it was a balancing act. It definitely was a balancing act. But what I realized is the circle that I chose to run with was a circle that was just like me. Yeah. While there were those kids who had successful parents, the ones that I gravitated to the most were the ones like a Darren Smith, right? And so, we just kind of flocked together. But the reality is, you're gonna gravitate towards the like-minded people that really share some of the same core values, that share some of the same experiences. Now, the other side of that privilege was the pressure from the other kids that did not go to private school, but was in your same hood.
Yes.
And so, you go to the private school. You go to the Catholic school. Okay. Yeah. And so there were a lot of fights. There was a lot of, issues.
People hating on us, right?
People hating. But we live right next door. Like, why? We haven't made it yet.
But and so that kind of gets to some of what the core for me is, because that crab in the barrel mentality still exists. And I think what I want to do, I want to bridge the gap in my world from people who don't have those slight advantages, or people who come from nothing to come into a place like you are. And when you have that crab in the barrel mentality, or you have that mentality that you can't do any better, I use you, people like Drew, Dirk, all those people who have come from, what do you want to call lower middle income, whatever it may be, to a success level. And I think it can be done for anybody. I mean, there have been so many. I posted recently the book of Reginald, and his struggle from the streets of Baltimore to become one of the first Black billionaires. And I think it can be done, but we're not taught that lesson. We're taught the lesson that you spoke of earlier, which is people who think that the hood or the street is the only way to gain any type of wealth.
And you're right. Reginald Lewis, first African American billionaire, he set the bar real high. He set the bar real high, and he pushed people. He encouraged people, and he's still doing it today, because entrepreneurship is the key. It's easy for us to go out and get that job, because that's the mindset and the mentality that we started from. That was the foundation with our parents. Go get that job. Well, guess what job stands for? Job stands for just over broke, right?
Yes.
Right. It's you're literally just over broke because your employer is going to pay you just enough that you, stay there, and you're going to do just enough not to get fired.
Yes.
Right.
Absolutely.
But when you understand entrepreneurship, when you understand the signs of the times, when you understand that we cannot do, Darren, what our parents did, work for 40 years, for 40 hours a week, and then retire off of 40% of what they were once making 100% of.
Yeah, it doesn't make sense.
It doesn't make sense.
So that whole thought that we are talking, because everybody, and you still hear it today in some cases, I think, is get that good government job.
Mm-hmm.
And in DC, that's a big thing, obviously, because we have a lot of government here. So you always hear us talk about, you need to get that good government job, you get benefits, all that other stuff. Well, Warren Buffett doesn't have benefits. You know what I mean? But he's got enough money so it doesn't become a problem. Greg, what would you say then to let's talk more about you. So let's talk about you. So I wanted to start off from where you are. So you go away to North Carolina, and that's what happened. All my partners went away. I went to Louisiana, but they went to North Carolina, which is a better move for the record. And Greg sets up a life down there. So tell me a little bit about how North Carolina was for you, and that's where you started on the force and all that good stuff. Talk a little bit about that.
Well, I started out in North Carolina, went away to college because I knew, and here's another part of that story, Darren, because I knew I had to get out. Mm-hmm. A lot of the cats that I had ran with in elementary school, we went to high school together, and I was tired. I was tired of, being just with that crowd. And not that it was a bad crowd, but it came a point in time in my consciousness that I knew I had to chart my own path. And I wanted to get as far away from anyone in my elementary school days and my high school days as possible. So where did I go? I went to Durham, North Carolina, to North Carolina Central University. I went to a school where there was no one from my graduating class going to. I didn't, and so I wanted to, here we go, I wanted to rebrand myself. Woo! Mm. And I had to get away from everybody that knew me when to get to the people that know me then.
Nice.
And so it's a big difference. And so I made that decision. And my dad, he wanted me to stay in DC, go to Howard, go to University of District of Columbia. And I said, Dad, if you don't let me go, I said, I'm not going to make it because I got to get out of here. Mm-hmm. And not because of any violence or anything like that. Some of my boys went the wrong way. Some of them are not here. Mm-hmm. Some of them, got strung out. Some of them are in the grave. Some of them are locked up, and it's all good. But I didn't want to even be close to any of that. And so I made a decision to go away to school, went to North Carolina Central University, the best move that I ever made. because it charted the course for what has been the springboard of my life, right? Because those relationships in college, they filter over into your adult life and into the rest of your life. And so these are the people that I hold the closest relationships with. But once I graduated, I actually came back to DC for a year, worked here for a year, got the call to start in the police academy in Durham, North Carolina, started in the police academy, served the citizens of Durham, North Carolina for 10 years. Did a lot on the streets of Durham, North Carolina, from being a patrol officer to being a narcotics investigator, to working in the schools, right? To being that community liaison between the police department and the community, some of the toughest communities in Durham, being that community liaison. And then I reached the pinnacle when I got a taste of federal law enforcement when I was on a fugitive task force with the FBI. And that springboarded me into the reality of, if you've got this education, if you've got all of this knowledge, if you've got all of this experience, then why not use it and go higher? And so I got into federal law enforcement with the agency that I'm with. And it has been a whirlwind of 21 years and counting. And so I've been able to do some very significant things with the agency that I'm with. And, now I'm at a point where I see it in my sights, retirement.
Okay, so hold up, slow down, Speedy.
I mean, you asked me to talk.
I know, no, but well, I was in Durham. Now let's talk about it. So in my advertisement, we spoke specifically of him being what I consider, obviously, one of the biggest travel executives in the nation. And I'm going to tell that story in that regard because he's not going to say it the way I'm going to say it. But I'm just saying he is one of the biggest executives in the travel industry, okay? And I'm excited to be a friend of a guy that has put together such a large business in the travel industry. So, and I see, some of you might notice on his right hand, I think that's his right hand. Well, on his hand, he's got this big red thing, and that is his recent ring that he's achieved. And I'm going to let him talk a little bit more about that. So, Greg, now I want to talk about, now that you found a vehicle, because truth be told, he talks about being involved in the agency and the law enforcement thing that he's been doing, but he really, at this point in his life, does it not because he has to. He does it because he chooses to, and that choice in life matters. So tell us about the vehicle, and tell us about your journey with the travel business and how you gotten to where you are now.
Well, Darren, I had that aha moment 12 years ago where I knew I needed more. And so I got involved in the travel space for just 3 reasons. And there were 3 things that made sense. Number one, I was going to be able to travel at wholesale rates instead of retail rates. That makes sense. Number 2, if I could own a piece of the internet and I could book my own travel, no different than an Orbitz, Expedia, or Travelocity, but what I have has my name on it. And everything that I book for myself, I'm going to get the commission on what I'm going to do anyway. That made sense. But what made complete sense was me being able to write off my travel on my taxes, right? I'm not a tax professional, so this is my disclaimer. Consult your own tax advisor to see if it's going to be that type of advantage for you. But the reality is, for me, for the last 12 years, it has been an advantage for me. And so with the first view of it, I knew that this was the correct business decision just for my household. What do I mean by that? If I didn't do anything else but have it as something else in my toolbox for my household to book my travel for myself, save on the travel that I'm going to do anyway, and be able to write it off on my taxes. I don't know anyone in this country who doesn't need tax write-offs. I knew I was going to be my best customer. But Darren, when I realized and understood residual income, leveraged income, and the need, not just the ability, but the need that every household has to have multiple streams of income, it became a game changer. Because
stop right there. And again, and I'm gonna tell you why. Because again, we're speaking to a well-rounded audience.
Okay.
But some of them, and honestly, because I have some employees and a couple of my companies, when I said the word residual and multiple streams of income, they didn't understand that. And no shade to my employees. If you work with me, you know we're gonna talk about making you money. That's what I like. My whole life ambition is to make people money. But I want Greg to explain what residual income is, what multiple streams of income means to somebody that has never heard that.
Well, you know what? Let me put it in its simplest form, because I didn't understand all of the terminology, right? And so it was broken down to me this way. If I asked everyone right now, who were the top entertainers in 2018, right? Everyone would have their opinions. What do you think some of them would say, Darren? The top 3 entertainers in 2018.
I think most people would probably say Kevin Hart, and of course what happened with Tiger yesterday or this past weekend. So Tiger, somebody like that.
Okay, here's the reality. The top 3 entertainers in 2018 was Elvis Presley, Michael Jackson, and Prince.
Bam!
What do they have
Explain why that's the case, sir.
What do they have in common? They are all deceased.
Mm-hmm.
And they're still making even more money. They're making more money not being here than they were when they were here, because they did something one time. They worked hard one time, and they continued to build wealth over time that has superseded them even in life. That's residual income. So imagine you being able to leave a will to your family instead of leaving a bill.
Woo!
That's what's significant about residual income. It's residue. It's the residue that follows you everywhere you go. Darren, if I stopped my business right now, not stop the business, but if I just went on hiatus, 3 months, 6 months, 8 months, because of what I've built over the last 42 months, my income is going to continue to go up, and it's never going to go down. That's what the significance is when you start talking about residual income. But let me introduce another term that people don't understand. And it runs along with residual income, and it goes hand in hand, leveraged income. When you can leverage the time and talents of other people and you can get paid for that, that is huge, because everybody is on the same course, going in the same direction for the same cause and for some of the same reasons.
Now, let me clarify that one, because that's a good one. Is leveraged income the same thing, the same thing that Jeff Bezos does with his team?
With who? Who's
the owner of Amazon? Is that the same?
Oh, absolutely. Because guess what? He's the owner of Amazon. But guess what? He's not in the warehouse packing with everybody, sending stuff off.
That's right. That's right.
He's leveraging the people that are there to get the job done. Let's put it in simple forms. All right. You also know me as an associate minister at my church.
That's right.
Right. Now, I'm not the pastor, but can a congregation thrive if the pastor has to preach, teach, counsel, collect the offering, count the money, clean the bathrooms, clean the parking lot, go visit the sick and shut in, do missions work by himself?
It can't be done.
It can't be done successfully. That ministry will never thrive. And so it takes many hands to make a heavy load light.
Woo.
And when you have those many hands making a heavy load light, the success of any organization, the success of any business is inevitable, because everybody is on the same page and everybody is moving in the same direction. And then the person that starts that movement is going to be able to leverage everybody coming together, working for the same end. And guess what? In business, everybody is still going to get fed and everybody is still going to get paid. That's leveraged income.
Wow. Strong. Very strong. So then my next question is, how many people, well, that's probably too personal. Is what you do available to that person that's working just above minimum wage and is working 40, 50 hours a week? Could somebody like that take the vehicle that you offer and build themselves into the type of executive that you are?
You know what, Darren, that's a very, very good question. And so the reality is, yes, it does not matter your socioeconomics. It does not matter what your current job description is, where you see yourself or where you actually are financially. You can take a small investment with our company of $200 and turn that into your own empire. Now, here's the reality. I'm not dealing with pipe dreams. I'm not dealing with smoke and mirrors, and I don't do hype. But what we have is a responsible compensation plan that pays out very well for anyone who dares to be coachable, dares to be teachable, dares to be trainable. We're not bringing folks in and saying, okay, you got your business, figure it out. Because the success of any business rises and falls on its leadership. And the leadership is the key to helping people to build wealth for themselves. And we have the right component. We have the right leadership. We have the right visionary at the helm. And I am humbled to be one of the top leaders in the company. Out of over 41,000 people, my wife and I are the number 6 income earners. That's huge. And so
that's right there, bro. That's what I'm talking about. Show them the ring. Show them the ring, brother. Show them the ring. There it is right there. Okay, so that is significant. He said he's in the top 6 of 41,000 people. So I had to emphasize that because, again, he's a humble guy. I know this guy for a long time, but I want to emphasize that. That is big. But see, what he's not going to say is, I remember when he was number 39,700 or whatever it was. And that's an exaggeration because he really was never there. But he was on the ground floor of this opportunity. He had a vision.
Yes.
He called me then. He called my friends then. And he saw the vision. And now, some years later, he's sitting where he's sitting because of his integrity and his hard work. Okay, continue, brother.
And here's the other part of that reality. Yes, I am sitting here, but guess what, Darren? Can it happen for other people? Because
yes,
these are the people that we really want to capture with the possibilities. What's possible for me is absolutely possible for anybody who dares to dream. The challenge is people have stopped dreaming.
Woo.
Because they're on that hamster wheel of life. They don't know how to get off. They work their 9 to 5. They live for the weekend. And then on Sunday night, around 8 o'clock, they're dreading what's going to happen on Monday morning, right? Something's got to change with that. And so we have an opportunity that is absolutely huge. For me, and here's the other disclaimer. While we are doing extremely well, my wife and I literally are now making $250,000 in residual income part-time.
Hold up. You'll have to understand this, what he's saying.
I'm dressed like this, not to go to my travel agent office.
Right.
I'm on my way to work.
Right. So, and that's what I want to emphasize. And I said earlier, he has a beautiful lifestyle, and I know his lifestyle, but he's making $250,000 on the side. He ain't got to go to work. I'm just going to break it down to you. He doesn't have to, but he chooses to, and he has aggressive goals. a day in a life, and I want to emphasize something else. I got a segue here. There was a core four of us that came up in Southeast, and we did a lot together. And it was obviously Derek, Daryl, and myself and you. But Daryl saw the vision with you about what, 2 years ago?
A little bit over 2 years ago.
And to know this guy's personality, we both know it. And to see him go from 0 to 100 in a short period of time, I'm proud of it. I would be remiss, brother, if I didn't shout you out, because I'm proud of you. I haven't had a chance to tell you that directly, not to take away the limelight. But what Greg did is he saw that diamond in the rough, and he went to Drew as a police officer, a fellow law enforcement personnel, and said, "Hey, bro, let's grow this together." And I'll let you talk a little bit more about that, Greg.
Well, you know what, Darren, it's interesting because during my whole time in this industry, I've had to make some transitions. And every time I've made a transition, I've called you, I've called Drew, and I've called Eric, because I don't want to leave my boys behind.
That's right.
If we ran the streets together, we can make money together. But it's a choice as an adult what you decide to do. And so I've always respected you and your vision for your future, Derek and Drew. But it came a point with this business project that I got very aggressive. And getting aggressive with Drew can be very challenging, to say the least.
Yes.
To say the least. It can be very challenging. Right? We're having a good time with this.
Yes, indeed.
We are speaking facts.
Yes.
And so here's the reality. We had been in this project for a year, and he, from day one, he said, "Nah, keep doing what you're doing. I'm proud of you. I love the fact that you're helping so many people." And after a year of him pushing me off, I went to his house in North Carolina from Maryland. And I literally told him, "Today, you're going to sit down in your house, you and your wife, and you're going to listen to me. And if at the end of this conversation, it's still a no, I will promise you I will never talk to you about this business again. And we're still going to be friends, and we're still going to, go to the cookout. We're still going to bring it back to the hood and do what we started doing, bringing things back." And so now, after that conversation, it's funny. His wife looked at me, who I didn't know that well at the time, and she said, "Why did you talk to him about this business?" Right? She said, "Don't talk to him about stuff like this. Talk to me." Right?
Now, Sheikah was involved in another business at that time, wasn't she?
She was involved in another business in the sales industry.
Yeah.
Always been, having her goals and seeing the possibilities in the direct sales industry. But I didn't know her well enough to, talk to her about that. And so fast forward to now, this is very significant. And I don't want anybody to miss this. He went, and this was a 10-year, "Hey, you need to come with me." No. "Hey, you need to come with me." No. 10 years he told me no. Well, guys, can I tell you right now? He is in this company. He's in the top 1% of the leadership in this company. And while I'm number 6 in the company, Daryl Drew, the naysayer, the negative one, the one that you will not push because he will push back hard, is number 166 out of 41,000.
Bruh, let me stop you right there. That's funny. We had this conversation about 2 weeks ago, and he was at a different number. So he's gone even higher up the chain.
Yeah, he was like at 180.
So excited. So again, there's an example. You said about 2 years ago, right?
Exactly.
Some 2 years ago, a man decided to change his life, and now is going to set himself up for the earning potential that he'll leave to his children and his children's children. That was what Greg spoke about earlier with the residual income, with the leveraged income. the reason why Greg and Greg, the joke is with us, because I've never said no to Greg because I'm not an idiot. Whether you're a fan of Donald Trump or not, in one of his books, How We Want You to Be Rich, he specifically speaks about the kind of business that Greg is involved with, and he would say if he lost all his money, he would do that. So I always understand if one of our businesses fails, Greg, it's time, and I'm going to roll with him. I'm going to have to run fast because them boys are gone. But
we will not leave you behind.
They will not let me. See what I'm saying? No man left behind. So to have that integrity, and for me, never to say no, because I will not. And for Drew to see the vision just warms my heart because, and Greg, again, this is the humble part. He's not going to tell you. He is a man of strong background. You see his oration skills. He can speak well. He's a leader in so many regards, from a spiritual standpoint, obviously to an entrepreneurial standpoint. So the leadership that comes with his organization is far superior than any that I've ever seen. I mean, the integrity, the way they carry themselves. I mean, it's just, and you know what? They have a lot of fun. Mm-hmm. If you're a Facebook fan of his or a friend, you're going to see him traveling. They get it in. So, he said this earlier, and I'm going to say it not as a plug for him. It's because it makes sense. If you travel, who's the best person to be your travel agent, yourself or Expedia? Because I've done them both, right? Now, I'm blessed that I've traveled so much that we get ridiculous discounts because of Tina's problem. No, I'm just teasing because of Tina. But I'm telling you, if you're in travel, if you'd like to travel, talk to Greg. Reach out to him. I know he may not particularly, well, I shouldn't say that. He'll take care of you. He will take care of you. He'll make sure you're taken care of, if nothing else. I'm sorry, Greg. I didn't mean to do all that.
That's all right. Now, and you know what? We've talked about the industry of travel, and travel makes sense. But when I partnered with my company, Planet Marketing, PLANNET, marketing, for those that want to do their due diligence, for those that want to check us out, planetmarketing.com, PLANNET.com. This company started in October of 2015. And it started with a gentleman by the name of Mr. Donald Bradley, who has been a seven-figure income earner for all of his time in this industry for well over 13 or 14 years now. But he has a heart for people. It's never been about him being a documented millionaire, but how many millionaires, how many thousandaires, how many hundreds of thousands of heirs can he help create with his skill set? We're talking about a guy who is a vet serving our country, but being that entrepreneur all of his adult life, he's a man of integrity. And I've seen him have a heart for people. One of the things that he teaches us that's ingrained in us, and it's got to be somewhere inside of you before you arrive, is people before profit, because this is not the crab in the barrel mentality. We're talking about people before profit and growing people into the entrepreneurs that is trapped inside of them and they won't allow to come out. But we want to pull it out of you in the largest industry in the world, which is travel, with a company that has just gotten off the ground and we're already breaking records. Let me tell you what the records are. We have booked in excess of over $475 million in travel in 42 months.
Wow.
We are in over 22 countries globally. What company is going to start in October of 2015 and then in the first 3 months launch in the United Kingdom and France, and subsequent to that in multiple islands in the Caribbean, and now we're also live in Mexico? That's huge. And we are preparing now at some point in the very near future to launch in Canada. And the baby is still crawling because it's only 42 months old.
Amazing.
That's what we have here with Planet Marketing. And I'm going to tell you right now, we are writing history. We are creating history. We are living the history of this company right now. And I promise everyone that I'm going to be on the forefront of that, along with my leaders, who I couldn't have done it without them. Because right now I have an organization of leaders. I've got 12 individuals who are directors in this company that are in the top 1% of the entire company. And they're getting it.
Woo.
And they're getting it for their team. We have a total team right now of about 2,200 people globally.
Wow.
Of that 41,000 people, we've got our lion's share right now of about 2,200. And so that's a huge responsibility. And so just want to really let people know, not just that I'm in this industry, but the company that we're with. And the other part of the company, Planet Marketing, is a marketing company. But what do we market? We market a company called IntelliTravel. IntelliTravel is our business partner. This is a mutually agreed upon relationship, an exclusive partnership with IntelliTravel. Not 3-year-old company, 27 years in the travel space, licensed and bonded, A+ rating with the Better Business Bureau. It doesn't get any better than that. How about this? From a business perspective and from a security perspective, for anyone who is looking for something, you want to know that the company's going to be around, right? I definitely want to know, if I'm going to put my blood, sweat, and tears into a company, guess what? I want to make sure that it's going to be around. How about both companies are debt-free? They're operating cash flow positive. That's the integrity of Mr. Bradley. When he started this company, he didn't go to any banks. He didn't go to any shareholders. He stroked a check of his own money. He bet on himself. And guess what? He's winning. And we're winning together. Darren?
That's strong. That's so strong. And that's exactly what I wanted you to get into. This Celebrating Success Month in April is about pointing out to anybody that they can attain that. And I think that your vehicle, more than, I should say more, but not like a lot, because there are opportunities everywhere. But I think when you take a vehicle like yours, and I think you said the investment was a couple of $100, which is nothing for a multi-million-dollar business. It behooves somebody to look into this and take a close look at anything that could change your life like that. I think that it needs to be said that an opportunity from a guy like Greg could happen to anybody. And I want to make sure that we're clear. So I want to say this one last time. Greg, is this opportunity available to anybody?
It's available to anybody. It doesn't matter your socioeconomics. I can get you started right now.
That's what I'm talking about.
But here's I really want people to understand, because when people look at starting a business like ours, they're thinking thousands and thousands of dollars. No, we're talking about a one-time investment of $200, right? And a monthly fee of $59.95, which is your overhead. That's your operating costs. And so how does that break down? Everybody that I know has one of these, Darren. A smartphone.
Yep.
Guess what? You can start your business less than the price of the cost of a smartphone, and you can be in the largest industry in the world, owning a piece of the internet, and you can operate it for $59 a month. Darren, that equates to $2 a day to operate a business with inventory worldwide, and you can begin to build your own empire. Darren, let me put it in more in its proper perspective. I took a $200 investment in October of 2015. And I turned it into a $250,000 income. Darren, let's break that $250,000 down. We're talking about $20,833.33 a month. And I still go to work every day. And so if it can happen for me, I know it can happen for anybody that's viewing. And guess what? I'm the one that is willing to go the distance with anyone who just dares to dream. Lock arms with us in Planet Marketing. Get your business started. And let's take this journey together.
Awesome. So if you haven't traveled, and I was talking to a family member the other day, just the other day, and hmm, he said I was talking about a country I was in or whatever, and he's like, I never really left DC. I'm like, what? And I'm like, you never been to Bahamas? I mean, because to me, if you haven't been to Bahamas, you haven't even begun to start to travel. That's like the first. It's like Florida and the Bahamas.
Right, right, right.
But excuse me, gosh, there are so many people who haven't even expanded their boundaries. And I have to say to anybody in the DMV, look into this. I mean, it's funny because people think that DC is like the microcosm of the world, and it's not.
Mhm.
There's so much more out there to see. You need to see the world. It's so beautiful. And Greg and his team are out there traveling the world, seeing sights that are just unbelievable. You haven't lived until you snorkeled or you walked in clear blue water like a pool, right? And you need to do that. The warmth hitting your sun, the back, and all that. And this vehicle can help you do that. So if you never traveled, you ever had the thought for 1 second that you may have want to travel, you need to talk to this gentleman or one of his team members right away.
Well, Darren, I appreciate that. You know, we're building people. That's the bottom line. Is it about the numbers? Yes, but it's more about the people, because the culture that we have in Planet Marketing, as I said earlier, is people before profit. We've got to reach people where they are. There are some people that have never done anything in business. They've been always working for someone. Until you begin to build your dreams, you're going to always work for somebody else as they build their dreams.
That's right.
And that should not be your story. You know, being that good government employee, I got my 20-year pin last year, and a letter from the administrator that was 2 sentences long,
Wow.
basically saying, you did a good job, young man. Thank you for your service.
And that's significant. I know what you do and where you do it, and you do a lot for that agency. So for that to happen is amazing.
And I looked at that letter and I said, that's all I get. Putting my life on the line. That's what I get. And so it's not a sad story. Even let's talk about this real quick, because we talked about that good government job. Well, there was a furlough that took place.
Oh yeah.
I had to continue to go to work and not get paid because I was an essential
You're
employee.
essential. Yeah, you're essential. Yeah.
I still had to go to work every day. Everybody else was stressed out. But because I had this vehicle, I was looking at them like, what's wrong with y'all? I'm good. And that is a testament of you needing to fix your roof while the sun is still shining.
It's funny you say that, and this is not a snap against anybody that doesn't have that vehicle, but the furlough did not affect me one bit. And I remember thinking, wow, okay, I get that, for some people. But what entrepreneurs like you and I probably thought, Greg, is get yourself together so this won't affect you, because life is set up with ups and like you said earlier, ebb and flows. So always have yourself set up with multiple streams of income, or at least one good one, or one which you think is a good one, and a backup. Look, Greg is making $250,000 on his part-time gig. Okay, it can happen.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
So with that said, also, okay, we skipped over something that's very important to me, and I know it's important to you, and this will be the last thing we talk about.
All right.
There's a support system and somebody very special that's the backbone of your life. And to know her, and I don't know her very well, but what I do know about her is she is a quiet force behind you. And Carla is just a dynamo. And speak to how she's helped you in this whole regard.
Well, you know what? We have really been able to do some amazing things in life together. But when we talk about business, I had the vision of what this opportunity could do for us, specifically with Planet Marketing. And she grabbed a hold to it. But we had to really kind of subdivide how we were going to work this, because at the time my son, he's now 15, so 3 years ago he was 12. We had to balance life out, but the reality is we saw this as that way out, that way up, and that way to another level. And so we made a conscious decision to go for it with everything that we had. You reach a point in time where I'm 54 years old right now. If I don't do it now, when am I going to do it? I've got the energy now. I've got the mind now. I've got the wherewithal now. I've got the ability to move about when I need to, still making sure that I do right by my full-time job. And so Carla and I really just locked arms. And yes, she is that, I call her a silent assassin.
Yeah, bro.
Because when it's time to get busy, she shows herself. And she gets in the trenches with me. But what we've been able to do is master both sides of the business, because she has become a travel agent expert, documented travel agent expert with our company. And so she concentrates on one side of the business. I concentrate on the other. We work it together. We help our team together. But she is the one that I had the vision, but she's the one that's going to make sure that it comes to pass. By pushing me, by encouraging me, by motivating me, but also by keeping me grounded towards the things that life has, which is family first. God, family, and then planet. That's how we roll in this house. Because guess what? Here's the reality. We're not going to always be working like this. But if we can build it strong now, and if we can build it for the long haul, and if we can coach, mentor, train, and develop the right people, guess what? Every day will be a vacation for us.
Well, I don't know how to say anything after that other than thank you, brother, for sharing. This has been a dynamic opportunity for my listeners and for you. Hopefully you'll share this over to your page and your group gets to see it.
Absolutely.
Because this is just an awesome testimony to a humble gentleman from the mean streets of Southeast, near the Maryland side, thanks to, and come up. And I'm just excited for you, brother. The joke is we'll see each other on the beaches of the world, and we really will. And we hope that more people that know us from back in the day look into opportunities like this to try to build wealth and to build residual income. Gregory Scott, thank you, my brother. Thank you, man.
Well, Darren Smith, I thank you, because let me just say this, ladies and gentlemen. Darren Smith is the one that introduced my eyes to the world of direct sales and being an entrepreneur when we were in our late teens to early 20s. And all of us looked at him like he was crazy. But we looked at him like that because we didn't know any better. And so when you know better, you do better. And so if I had to put a thumbprint by where my exposure to this industry started, it's with Darren Smith. And I kick myself because I'm saying, if I had just listened, where would I be right now? What company would I be with? Where would I be financially? I'm actually where I'm supposed to be.
I agree.
But I owe that starting point in my mind to Darren Smith, because he saw something in the industry of direct sales that I did not see. And now I've become who I've become. And so I'll just say this in closing, if I may, Darren. Opportunities of a lifetime should be seized in the lifetime of the opportunity. In my opinion, the opportunity with Planet Marketing coupled with IntelliTravel is that opportunity of a lifetime. And there are people that are going for it. Why not you? If not something like this, then what are you going to do? And if you don't do it now, when are you going to do it? Because here's the thing, time is ticking. And we don't have time to waste. We don't have time to play games with anyone. I would love to talk to anyone that Darren recommends that comes up on his feed that want to find out more about what we're doing. And Darren, I'll give a plug just for today. The #1 income earner in our company is going to be right in the DMV on tonight at the Harborside Inn out by the National Harbor.
That's a nice venue, by the way, too. It's really nice.
Yes, it is. And so contact Darren, hit me up if you're on my feed. I would love to be able to meet you there, greet you there, and be able to introduce you to the #1 income earner in our company who now is making $1 million residually. But Darren, you're a brother beloved. I appreciate you for your vision for this type of venue, to have other entrepreneurs on to just tell their story. You do it better than most, and you are perfecting your craft, over time. And yes, Darren, I'm still waiting for you.
That's my man.
Still waiting for you. Now, you said something, and I'm gonna say this in closing. You said, we'll see you on the beaches of the world, right? I'll take that a step further. I want to see you on the beaches of the world or at the bank or at both. You pick.
Woo! I like both. Thank you again, brother. Send my love to the fam, and I'll talk to you soon.
All right, Darren. Thank you so much, man. Love you, bro. Love you. All right.